Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. Early in the morning for me to be doing a live, which is amazing because I have with me the lovely Rachel Vaughn, all the way from Australia. And we're going to be talking about, sure, lots of current things happening at the moment, just in terms of the survivor community. Assaulters, survivors being used to attack other survivors. Unfortunately, that is a staunch reality. And I really just think discernment at this time is of utmost importance. And I can see myself lagging on this camera. So I hope you all can be hearing me. Anyway, but before we go any further with Rachel, I'm just going to bring up the announcements for the week. So, yeah, we got the schedule up. And if you didn't catch Monday's show with Beverly Rhodes, that was really cool. We were talking about the Royals, Andrew, everything, and Beverly's amazing. You know, she was the ex psychic of the ex presidents and governmental figures in South Africa. So she has a lot of intel, and we and obviously a lot of connections to the royals as well, the British royals. So she literally reads the energy and she speaks about what's going on energetically. Brilliant episodes there. So catch that if you can. And then, of course, solutions. We've just launched the new solutions channel with Chanti. So go catch the mini series there on Garfield. It's explaining pretty much the new grid that we're working with now. That's flipping the old way, right? Then, of course, we had Jamie J. Watch that. Really cool. Talking about pre-birth trauma. Jamie's an amazing researcher. Guys, go catch her. She is so full of knowledge and brings a lot of information to us. And then, of course, last night on Solutions, the first interview I did was, of course, with Beverly, and it's called Spiritual Forensics. And what we're doing is we're taking criminal cases and we're looking at them. And with Beverly's gifts and my gifts, we are pretty much seeing the truth of what's happened behind the scenes. And last night we actually did Oscar Pistorius and Reva Steenkamp. Very, very, very interesting. So catch that show on Solutions. Lots of interesting stuff coming up on the other channel now, the Healing channel. So catch that. Then, of course, Rachel now. Jesse, this afternoon, we're talking about part two of the Harry Potter decode. And then we have Bad Bunny. Doing a decode on Bad Bunny. And then tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Dr. Dennis Carroll. So catch us for that as well. And then Drop In with Chanti is back again at 2 o'clock on Friday. So we're just going to be looking at things that's popped up on my screen this week and just chatting about stuff. So join me for that. Saturday, the Rehab, so replays on Solutions with Chanti, and then, of course, the Sunday Loop, reruns of our older shows on Aquarius Rising Africa. So, guys, yeah, we've been busy. Catch us if you can. And yeah, support our survivors and our truth tellers on their journey of recovery and healing. But also, just before I bring Rachel on, keep pressing the wrong button. Genesis 6, Part 2 Book Club with Gary Wayne. That's happening on Wednesday, the 19th of November. So that's for members and Patreons. It's going to be held on Patreon. So it's live. Gary will be reading the first chapter or two of his book. And you are invited to ask him questions, engage with him. Fantastic guy, Gary Wayne. He's definitely amazing with so much knowledge. So, really, that's a special treat for us here on Aquarius Rising Africa and Solutions, as well as if you're a Patreon. So, join us for that. And without any further ado, ta-da, the beautiful Rachel Vaughn. Rachel, so awesome to have you on a live. How are
Yes.
you?
different. Oh, really good, darling. Thanks for having me. And what a fantastic lineup. I'm impressed. It's great that you showed that at the beginning so people get a catch up. Because I saw you'd done the interview with Jamie, and I'm thinking I've got to catch up with that one. But the forensics thing with Beverly would be amazing. What a fantastic, brilliant. So you're doing your psychic stuff. That's fantastic. That'll be really good.
Absolutely. Wow. And what a show last night. I have to tell you, Beverly Rhodes, I remember from being in South Africa in the 90s. She was all over TV, all over the radio station, all over everything. And I've never forgotten, gosh, hanging again. So thanks to our mutual friend, Danny, because Beverly's moved back to the UK, obviously. And then she said to me, do you know Beverly Rhodes? I went, of course I know Beverly Rhodes. And we just started working together. And with this spiritual forensics, it was incredible to walk through her with because she shows the aura. Basically, she'll take and picture the energy body, and then she explains the energy body and what's happening around it. And she did that with the royals, Andrew and Fergie, and what's happening there with all that as well. And it's exactly so true. Because you know what I discovered, and she sent me whatever's happening in the royals. The issue, for example, with Harry and Meghan is that their kids, the royals, don't have proof. The internet is so bad.
It's so bad, isn't it?
I actually hung there for a while, but I didn't say anything. Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing. And her words were literally not cold. And then she sent me this thing talking about Harry and Meghan. And the reason why they let Harry go, for example, is not because of any other reason, but they don't have proof of birth of his two children.
Wow.
There's no birth certificate, there's no DNA to prove that the kids are his and hers and born from her. Now, isn't that interesting?
With that fake belly bump, I mean, that fell down in a public place.
It's crazy. Wow. Anyway, the world is a crazy stage right now, isn't it? And it's fun watching as things unfold. That's for sure. Listen, I know we've got a big fat lag here, so I'm going to hand over to you, and we're going to be talking about the MK altars and what's happening in the survivor community at the moment. So I'm going to hand over to you, beautiful lady.
Well, the first thing I'm going to start off with is this crazy time that we're in, because it seems to be a lot of people are being activated. And you mentioned something earlier about it being, a lot of suicides coming up with MKs at the moment, or people who've suffered from MK Ultra programming. So we are at the end of a 9-year cycle. We're also, at the end of a 26,000-year cycle. So there's a lot of different shifts going on. And when you come to the end of a 9-year cycle in 2025, the 2 and the 5 together make 9. So that's how people can work that out. Next year we'll be in the first part of a 9-year cycle, the 1 year. As we come to the end of that, it becomes a crescendo. People feel very pressured to get their work done. And I've seen a lot of people who seem to be in this incredible treadmill to try and get to the highest frequency, soul frequency, also at the same time as this 9 year is closing in. So we've got that. We've also got this crazy thing that happened on the 30th of October, where the Earth's magnetic shield was a bit lower than normal. We had the sun at its highest solar maximum for 20 years. And we also had 3i Atlas getting closer to the sun. The Schumann resonance apparently was up by 10 factors. So it was up to 78. It's normally 7.8. And there's apparently a 2 billion humans on Earth awakening event altogether. So together, because the frequencies are, I think that it's called being in the gamma range, when the Schumann resonance is such a high frequency that we are actually in a meditative state. though we may not be aware of it. So, and the Schumann resonance has been going off all of October, but at the end of October, it was really intense. So that 30th of October, just before Halloween, Samhain, I think they call it normally, it was just really full on. So we've got that going on.
Wow.
And we also have people speaking out about being psychically attacked. And I'll mention Laura's name. I don't know if we're going to mention her surname, but, there's a beautiful survivor that's been speaking out. She's been helping a lot of people. She uses alternative therapies to help people. She's spoken out recently about being psychically attacked and her partner losing his life as a result of that. Now, this is truly horrific. And unfortunately, it's a reality. We've had ex-Satanists come out and speak about how they can cause heart attacks from a distance. We've got movies like Men Who Stare at Goats, where they're making it very obvious. Again, they make these things obvious. They point out what they can do. And they were, that movie's around, CIA types using psychic ability to kill animals. And, these abilities have been around for a long time. In Australia, they call it pointing the bone. So it's like a cursed energy. But we've got, a lot of people pointing out those that are working in the dark, though they're presenting to be in the light, to be protectors of survivors or survivors themselves, and apparently doing the right thing. I think people need to be particularly cautious of individuals who come out as advocates for survivors and then suddenly decide that they are themselves a survivor. That's a sign. It doesn't mean everybody who does that is a shill or somebody fake, but it is something that people need to take into consideration. So I think this is going to be happening a lot more. I think a lot of people are going to be calling this out. I absolutely commend Laura for her strength and her resilience for speaking out, because a lot of people were too scared to. And I know a lot of people who've been on the, receiving end of this particular, individual's negativity, myself included. And I know this has been happening for me since 2022, and I've just been too concerned for this person's welfare to speak out about it, because I do believe that there's some pretty horrible programming involved. So if somebody's an agent, they'll often be programmed to be an agent. They might not even realize they're being an agent. And one of the main reasons that you know that somebody's an agent is if they go around telling everybody behind closed doors that everybody else is an agent. So this is why I think it's good to put these things out publicly, because, instead of doing it quietly in the background, call it out for what it is. Again, I have concern for the welfare of the person that was called out, because I think, there's obviously programming that's taking place, but this needs to be spoken about. And it happens a lot in the communities where people are, survivors talking to each other about, their abuse and the things that have happened to them. You can befriend the wrong people along the way, unfortunately. It's a minefield.
It's so true what you're saying. It is a minefield. And it's about, there's so much noise out there, Rachel. And, it's what I was just saying to someone this morning as well. And I'm doing a show soon on discernment in the world of false information. Because there is if we just have to imagine our ears being like antennae, and we could hear the noise they are picking up beyond the surfaces, I think we would be in a tumultuous sea of tidal waves and crocodiles and alligators, which everyone feels like they've been thrown around. No one knows which jaws are coming into place or whatever is going on. And most people are still looking at others for answers. And can that one be trusted? And is that one real? And I mean, if we just look at in recent months, weeks, the whole Charlie Kirk thing, I mean, that has been going on for the longest time. I mean, it's one psyop after the other there. Then it's the wife, and then the play, and then the people. A nightmare, right? Before that was the girl that was supposedly stabbed on the train. I'm sorry, I don't believe that actually even happened. That was a psyop of note. Same time, all of these things are going on, right? Or it's one trauma being created globally after the other. So already humans are up in arms. Since COVID, we've been delightfully fighting with each other and making each other the enemy because some took the jab and some didn't. There's still that going on there. That rhetoric has been going on for the longest time, except now it's with politicians and it's with Israel and Palestine and everything, and how we are being divided. Divide and conquer is the first step that they do. And I mean, if we just look at what they've done with survivors from when they were teeny babies, the first thing they do is separate them from the mother and create a mistrust. And the separation anxiety second to none. So energetically, there's this trauma of mistrust. Who if the person who gave life to me betrayed me this way, and the seed that I was seeded from abused me this way, I am not worthy of love. So I therefore create scenarios that keep repeating that in life subconsciously. They know how energy works and they keep creating more and more scenarios. The biggest thing is they create mistrust in the feminine energy, which is the mother. The mother really encompasses the feminine energy. That's the first place they create mistrust. Mother and emotions are synonymous. So that's where they go. And this world is filled with mistrust. So in order for us to find discernment and trust, then our next step forward, we have to learn to trust our heart, to trust where God, source, creator lives. It lives within your heart and not outside of you. And that, Rachel, is the first way I want to say is how we as humans are going to learn to discern, is when we do not give our power away to those we've got to listen, we've got to hear information. That's important to educate ourselves, right? But how much of that is true and how much isn't? And we've got to learn how to discern with these. And in my opinion as well, I see this like whole little brotherhood of people, men and women, having these podcasts, and they are fully controlled opposition. You just hear it in the things they say. When someone says to me, yes, that was channeled to me, but I'm not allowed to say anything yet. I'm like, you have to know that shit, right? You have to know you're dealing with someone that's been some voice to skull technology. I don't know what all these things are called, but there's that kind of energy going on there. And unfortunately, these are operations. I was speaking to a bona fide white hat who tells me they are given the information they're allowed to put out, and they are given misinformation to put out as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because they don't want to upset people. I'm like, get over yourself. You're a liar. You're a con artist. Please, we are adults. And for those who can't deal with the truth, well, then we must go for psychology, or we need a healer. I'll be the healer for you. You can come to me if you're looking for the truth. I'll help you. Do you know what I'm saying there, Rachel? It's like such nonsense. And we have to start looking and thinking deeper than what is being fed to us. That, I think, is the first step. Then we see, it's like your intuition tells you, right? That one is cool, and that one, nah. You just don't even go down that road.
With intuition, one problem is that if you get love bombed, you ignore your intuition. So this is what I was talking about before with that, being careful who you let in, because people will love bomb and you'll be so flattered. And if you've come from trauma, when someone love bombs you, it feels like, oh, I am okay. Oh, I am worthy of speaking to. And so you allow people in. So that's something that also has to be, you know, love bombing is a major red flag for me now. I recognize it now, and I, you know, I don't run a mile, but I look at it. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like people can only love bomb me so many times before I start wisening up. Then I go, hey, I've smelled that smell before. I've got a big nose with purpose, right? I always say that. That's why I won't go for rhinoplasty, because my nose will stop working like that. I know it. So it's like we've got to realize as well, this world is filled with narcissists. We are governed by narcissists. And if you've watched any of the shows I've done with Jamie and guys, really go and watch those shows. We talk about this master slave society that we live in. We are all slaves and masters, all of us. We're all slaves to a system. I don't care what skin color you are, all of us. And that's the truth of the situation. We are all bonded and bounded to something or someone or some emotion or some attachment. And it's up to us to figure out what that is. And that's why I say Jesus is not coming to save you. Jesus has given you the tools on how to save yourself. He's already been here. He's already shown us how. And he said, what I can do, you can do so much and more, right?
Yeah.
And when we learn to discern and we sit with ourselves and we're constantly faced with the same painful situation, that's a sign that we need to get clarity and truth on that situation. And then it comes. And then your intuition, every time you get love bombed, it's because you haven't trusted your intuition. Your intuition will give you signs all the way, but your mind craves that attention or affection because you've been so lacking in it. And this is not just survivors, by the way. This is all of us suffering from some kind of abandonment or rejection wounds. All of us have them to varying degrees. And we have to discern exactly when you've been love bombed 3 or 4 times and you kind of been in the same boat, and here comes Mr. Cool again, looking all swish and swash. You've got to go, hang on just a minute. I've seen this happen before, right? And, you know, Rachel, I think it's a vibrational thing. As we heal, as we raise our frequency, that happens less and less. It happens less and less. And that is the journey.
You pick up.
I think it's
And it's interesting what you're saying before about people getting channelings and not releasing it immediately because they're told that they can't pass that on. I don't believe I've ever had anything like that. I've been working as a medium for 22 years professionally, and obviously since I was a child because of the MK Ultra programming. And, you know, guides give you what you can handle at the time. They don't tell you to hold on to it and share it. Because nature is to just say, you know, it's human nature. So if it was that important and it couldn't be spoken about, then I don't think it would be shared. It doesn't make sense.
I fully agree. We have to see these things. We have to. We have to start recognizing. We've got to peel the layers from our eyes. And we have to see these things. And I think mostly people don't want to see.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting what you were saying before about we're run by narcissists too. I mean, it was from Jamie J that I learned that most narcissists were created through trauma. So, you know, it's not a natural state of being. And that's part of the whole programming, to have somebody that they can pop out like a puppet on stage, get them to do whatever they want, or whether it's on stage or off stage, and to control them. Because they believe that, you know, because their trauma is so intense, they believe that they're the number one individual in the whole world and everybody has to bow down to them. So it's very easy to control somebody like that because they just, all they need is constant attention and praise, and to have that reiterated to them. So there's no compassion and there's no empathy. You know, it's pretty sad. I mean, that's, in a lot of ways, that's almost like an automaton.
If we look at when MK Ultra started, which is about 80 let's say 60 years ago, I think from what we're seeing, I know this whole the World War II stuff, 40s, after World War II. And I do believe that's when they started actively doing what we understand today as MK Ultra, although I think SRA has been around since forever, exactly. But when we look at it from the MK Ultra perspective, and we're looking at the monarch programming, which is the butterfly, and we look at the butterfly and the DNA, the butterfly is the only creature on the planet of the earth that from being an egg to a little pupa and a worm and gone through to the butterfly stage, it's the only creature that completely changes its DNA. So when we look at the monarch programming, it's 3 generations that they are training to have no empathy, no compassion, because that's the trauma. They inflict the trauma upon the kids, so that they can kill and sacrifice and do things, have absolutely no empathy. So it takes 3 generations to get that DNA changed. And what I'm thinking is that this is the time where that DNA, the lack of the empathy gene, call it if you want, is starting to awaken fully. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's bloody scary. And I'm not a fearmonger. You know me, I'm always we're going to expose the underbelly, but we're going to see the solution as well. There's always alchemy to every situation. So I don't know, what's your take on that?
Well, and that makes perfect sense. So it does obviously, trauma does get carried down through family lines. I don't know if you've heard about the situation with the 4th generation. You'll often get with the 4th generation, they'll give them names with EL either at the beginning of the name or at the end. So it's quite fascinating. So I believe because I have.
Why is that? Do you know? Sorry.
I think it might be some sort of connection to, well, the person that I was watching on, I can't remember which podcast it was talking about it being related to the Elohim. But I'm not 100% sure that that's actually correct. But I do know that I have a full sibling who's got an EL at the end of his name. I have the EL at the end of my name. You look at a lot of royal names, they have the EL in them. So, it's that 4th generation, or they're talking about it being beyond even 3 generations with the monarch programming. So there are some family lines that have got just constant. It's just the trauma's constant. There's no break.
So what do you think the 4th, because yes, it would take the 3 generations to instill it and to kill the empathy gene and to kill the compassion, right? To kill that in the DNA and obviously instill whatever they want in there. That's why these splicings have been going on for the longest time as well, right? So they would then use that, and that's why they traumatize the families. So they've instilled that now after 3 generations, and I guess the 4th generation would then be to actually implement that in a fully to its fullest capacity, I would imagine, because I guess the different lineages would have different jobs they need to do, right, within the system.
So if you've got, the monarch programming, if you've got the 3rd generation's an absolute, narcissistic psychopath, the 4th generation must be something else entirely. Now, from memory, the podcast that I watched, it was about that individual or individuals in the 4th generation of trauma being like super soldiers or good candidates for super soldiers. So that's where you're talking about. And it's interesting you mentioned Jesus Christ earlier, which is very appropriate because he showed us what human beings are capable of. We're capable of alchemy. We can transmute materials. We can manifest anything, whether it's for us or for others. There's no real limit to what we can do. We're amazing creatures, really, when you think about it. So I think that I remember that was what the podcast was talking about, and I wish I could remember what it was. If I think of it, I'll get the link and share it underneath in the description box. But somebody else who's watching might also remember which one I'm talking about, and they might pop it under. It was a really fascinating talk. It woke up a lot. So yeah, so there'll be another generation next. In my family line, it hasn't gone past me, thankfully, but the trauma's probably been perpetrated with other family members that I was trying to protect by speaking out publicly, but didn't help. And if those people are watching, I did try my very, very best. So
Rachel, you've done an amazing job, honestly. You're one of the people that really goes way beyond the call of duty to bring light onto the survivor community. It's amazing. So I don't think anyone more
generation now. So there'll be a fifth generation, unfortunately. Let's hope there's never a sixth. There's so much exposure about this now. I guess there'll be some people who don't hear from survivors, who don't recognize that these things happen, so they might not necessarily be looking for it in their families to protect the next generation. But I'm hoping to God that there won't be a sixth.
Yeah, I really hope we've kind of and are busy doing as a community, all of us together are busy doing enough to turn this disgusting dark nest on its ass, and we must never forget alchemy is the name of the game. We are not going to win this war by chopping off demons' heads. I promise you, people, we're not going to do it like that. No. That is not how. This is frequency. This is a frequency war. Now, there's nothing more powerful than your own human frequency in alignment with your creator. It's like there's creator's energy. You've been over here all the time. You're getting snippets of it. Now you realize you got to move towards your higher self, creator, God, whatever you choose. And then you align and push that energy, that information flows through you. You become a natural conduit for energy.
Yeah.
And those in your surroundings dissolved because you have that capacity. And it's exactly true what you're saying, Rachel. We have the capacity to heal, to manifest, to help others create as well. Yes, everyone has to be responsible for themselves, but we also have to realize there are those of us who are front runners in this community. We're trailblazers. We're showing the way for many others as well that are still awakening. So yes, it is our responsibility to hold their hand and help them up and get them out of the mud and rinse them down a bit and say, sure, there's some dry clothes for you. Are you okay? Can you move now? That kind of thing. We have to help. We can't just ignore that there are people in need and in trouble and that she's a witch and he's that and bullshit. The ugliest things that come out of people's mouths is usually their own pain and their own fear and their own projections. So and it's true what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on. Over to you.
Like you see it all the time. So those that like for instance what we're talking about at the beginning of the chat, you'll hear people talking about other people being agents. Generally they are one. If they're obsessed with going around and calling every single person an agent, well, they're probably one themselves. Are they conscious of it? In some cases, no. They've been programmed to do exactly that. And
exactly.
Hopefully some people will see this and it might wake them up. It might not. Well, we don't know. But it's worth discussing. Because like I said, I've been on the receiving end of this particular individual since 2022. I was hoping that this person might eventually wake up, realize what they're doing. Unfortunately, that hasn't occurred. I've seen a lot of other people being called the most horrific things. People are doing really good work. Survivors and people who interview them alike, lots of people. And it keeps coming back to this one particular individual.
Yeah.
So... And we're going to see a bit more of this also as we get towards the end of this year and as we go into this next year, because the frequency of the planet is changing. We are going up in frequency. We're getting a lot of this puppeting that we've had with these, like you said, you can't just cut the demon's head off. demons will just jump to the next host.
Exactly.
So, you know, you can kill the host, but you can't get rid of them.
They grow 10 more heads.
Exactly. The frequency is going up so that they can't exist here comfortably. And as I've said before, I've been used in rituals to communicate with these entities from a very early age. Thank God that all stopped when I was about 14. But, you know, they didn't like being called up, and they certainly didn't like being on the surface then, back in the 70s and 80s. So I'm sure that they would like it even less now. So that means a lot of these activities have to go further underground, which is why, you know, exposing things like the tunnel network that I was abused in was really important for me, because I knew that those entities were more comfortable underground. So if I expose where the tunnels are, they're going to have to fill them in. And they are doing that. They're hiding all the evidence, but at least people aren't still able to use them. So that's my argument. You know, I know that I've called them out so that they're being destroyed at the moment, but they can't be used. They can't be used to traffic children. They can't be used to call up these entities.
And I think that is such incredible work. And, you know, as hard as what Australia sometimes is for me to listen to, some of the stuff that's happened there, because my God, it's hectic, very, very hectic in Australia. But I'm loving, there's a lot of survivors. I mean, Joanne Breeze, and I'm definitely wanting, I've still written it down here, you and Joanne and Kerry Saint, the Australians. I would love to do a roundtable with you Australian ladies and just speak about Australia and what is currently happening there, and the survivors that are coming, that are starting to speak as well. I know with Joanne as well. And, you know, she's got the kangaroo sanctuary and has used the kangaroos as for healing, and is a healer herself now, and works with a lot of people coming to her for healing with the kangaroos as well. You know, so this is a time of healing for all of us. It really, really is. And when we just shine our light, it sounds so cliche, but man, it is so not. It's the most powerful energy there is. It is the most incredible frequency. Love will dissolve everything. And it doesn't mean that you can stand there and just go, no, that might not help. You've got to be so aligned. You've got to have understood things to get to that point. You have had to understand universal principles to have gotten to that point. That's the stuff that blocks us from full alignment, is the lies we've been told about ourselves, about those around us, the things that have been used to disconnect us from nature, from creation, from each other. These are the lies that keep us separated and not connected in a unique and individual way, but they rather separate us and fragment us, and that weakens our field. So in order to know the truth, we have to be prepared to dissolve the lies that we've been told. And that is often generational, it's political, it's societal, it's in your family, familial, right? Your partner, your spouse, your kids. We've got to be willing to face the lies and in order to see the truth. And that's what a lot of people fear doing. I don't know what your experience or your take on that is, Rachel.
Well, you know, growing up with a Satanist for a father who was also a pedophile, who was abusing his children, that divide and conquer was exemplified in my family. So all of our siblings were pitted up against each other. And it's interesting how we all played different roles and specific roles. So he had one family with a wife that was murdered. Then he brought my mother in and had 3 children with my mother. He had 3 children with the first mother, 3 children with my mother. Then he went off and had another child with a woman a couple of streets away and kept that hidden as well in the 80s. But there were certain roles that each of us played in those 3 child families, which were very, very similar, unmistakable. And it was all part of the programming. So I would dob on my siblings. One of my older siblings in the first family used to dob on her siblings. it was quite uncanny. Different, you know, breeder aspects in certain individuals, others made to look like perpetrators when they weren't. So, you know, it's quite fascinating. So they work that's MK Ultra. They work that on a world stage. They pit us against each other, gender wise, you know, race wise, everything. And so that we all squabble and fight amongst ourselves. I'm not telling anybody anything new here. Everybody knows this, but it's so clever how they do it. What we all need to do is ignore all of the you know, color, you know, revolution stuff that they try and do, and
Yes.
and you know, feminism, you know, what is it, the toxic masculinity. I mean, honestly, it's just so all completely ridiculous. We just got to come back to that one thing. We're individuals trying to do the best that we possibly can, be as kind to one another as we possibly can, be kind to animals, be kind to nature. We don't have to adhere to climate change rubbish. We can just think, well, there's a tree there and it's creating an ecosystem, so we don't cut it down, not because it's, you know, exuding oxygen or anything like that, just because it's life. It's a living thing.
Exactly. And I think that, Rachel, for me, is what we have to come back to. We have to come back to the sovereignty of who we are. We have to come back to realizing the power, and power not being the way that they've made power seem. Power is kindness. Power is gratitude. Power is compassion. Power is being gentle. Love is all of these things, but that love and power is not weak. It's like, yes, there are times where you're going to exert that. Absolutely. If you're in the place of having to defend your family, you're going to exert your power absolutely to defend that, right? But when we're in alignment and in coherence with God, creation, nature, we find ourselves in the right place at the right time. We find that nature protects us. The tree will protect you from the bullet that's trying to be shot your way, and the branch will catch it instead of it going into your temple. That's how nature will protect you, right? I mean, my cats, I want to tell you, my cats, anything dodgy that comes into my house, I don't need a husband and I don't need a gun. I have my cats. They sort out anything that comes in here in the middle of the night. I tell you what. And I believe the field around me is my protection, because I look after nature in the best way that I can, and nature takes care of me. Nature looks after me. I believe that if guys are going to come here to try and take out a hit on my life, they'll have 4 flat tires before they even get to my house. I won't even know they came.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
That's how I believe.
Yeah.
And then, and it's true what Leanne is saying, and that's when manifestation kicks in. We don't try and contort energies to get a car or to win a lottery or whatever. I'm just in the place where I'm magnetized, and I magnetize that which I need, and that which I need arrives perfectly on time. And I'm very happy to share if I have an excess of, very happy, very happy. And if you're in the need and I have to share, rest assured you're going to get. That's how I believe we look after each other. We don't have to buy expensive insurance policies to make sure that I have money when I'm dead, or when I'm old, rather. It's kind of like you take care of each other in a communal way.
And look, manifestation, I'm sure you know this, but those watching might not realize it. When you're living your soul purpose, when you're getting up every day doing what you know you're meant to be doing because it fills you with joy, that is where the manifestation comes. If you work against that and you work for the man, you do something you can't stand, if you're slaving away and you're angry and bitter and frustrated, the abundance doesn't come. Or if it does, you don't appreciate it and you spend it on rubbish. You're self-medicating because you can't stand yourself because you're not doing what you're meant to do.
The money runs through your fingers like water, and before you know it, it's gone. We understand all of these things. Really, this is what it is to be in the 3D matrix. And that's the lower 3 chakras, when you're stuck in the lower triad where you are in fear. Your foundation is shut. You don't know how to operate. It's like your house in which you build your foundation crumbles. There's no foundation. You use sex as a weapon, whether you're a man or a woman. You use sex and manipulation as a weapon. You use your kids as pawns and weapons. You fight for them in divorces. You become power hungry. You become greedy. You don't want to share. You want everything for yourself. You pay yourself maximum wage, but those around you minimum wage. That's the 3D consciousness. When we realize, and that's the lower 3 chakras in their negative polarity, okay? But their positive polarity is beautiful, because that's the energy that roots you like a tree or a flower into your environment, right? That you draw on your enough water, nutrients, and all of that to give you that, your full bloom, right? So that you can go out and express yourself in the most perfect way. Sex is beautiful when you have it with a loving partner. It is amazing. It is the most incredible exchange of energy when you use it in a way that God intended for us to use it, and not stealing kids' kundalini and using sex magic and your feminine wiles to catch a man because you don't think you have enough money to live on your own or whatever, We do that, and men will find these young women because they're too scared of growing old and control them with money and become dictators. That's all. That whole narcissistic society, that's the matrix of hell we caught up in. And when we realize, and remember, the 4th chakra is the heart chakra, and that's the first element that is like when you're looking at the elements that belong to each: earth, water, air, fire, right? Heart chakra is air. It's the first of the invisible elements. So you have to trust. You got to trust your wings that fly. Start trusting yourself. And when that happens, you lift yourself out of the matrix, and then you move into the field where we all hang out together. We're not perfect. We fuck up every day, but we're willing to acknowledge our fuck ups, and we're willing to laugh about them, and we're willing to learn from them. That's what happens. We help each other. We support each other. It becomes like the hive of a bee, and not the hive of a killer bee. Because the natural way that the bee is that we work towards a community. The queen is the project, not a person. The queen is the community, not the person. We all have a role within the community to serve the queen, which is the project. And that's what the Ankara field is about. That's what we're doing there. So that's the energy.
Definitely well headed. Absolutely. I've been seeing this for a long time, that it goes back to community. And it's interesting because I've started hearing politicians talking about this now as well, that it's going to be people in their own community that are making decisions through voting for someone who might be a spokesperson, but that person lives in the community with them. And if they stuff up, they know where they live. So that's where it needs to come back to. If you have no integrity, people won't tolerate you in their community. So this is where it's going. It's going back to where it should have been, and should never have gone into the ridiculous situation where people live in huge mansions that are protected and they just keep reaping and taking money from the collective.
And speaking of huge mansions and stuff, and that is a fine way to spot a controlled opposer.
Oh yeah.
They would definitely have been in the system for sure. I'm not saying they're not survivors, but they have often been groomed to be handlers or groomers.
Yeah.
So they will get the book deals. They will get the honeypot wife or husband. They get the titles, the reverend, the doctor, the the this,
The
the that, the
OBEs,
that.
the OAMs, yes, yes.
And the perfect podcasts, and that's when you see all the little podcasters talking about the more slick their delivery.
Yeah.
Be careful, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call out any particular person here. It's not my job to do that. I've been sitting here with you guys for 5 years saying discernment, 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 discernment. This is up to you to practice your discernment.
Yeah.
We are giving you clues. Rachel, who's a survivor and who's a healed survivor, works very much with survivors, is spot on with this. Me, I'm a healer. I have a nose with purpose, a large nose with purpose. I smell
Beautiful.
bullshit when I smell it. That's all I'm saying. So I won't go for rhinoplasty.
No, please don't. Please don't. We choose our faces before we come in. So if we've got complaints about our faces, that's just on us.
I sometimes go, did I have to choose you?
Oh, same. But I love this nose. It's perfect. It's perfect as it is.
It's perfect for the job.
Exactly. And it's unfakeable. That's the other thing too.
Absolutely. And of course, don't you love it with my birthmark? And I'm always accused of being part of the Black Eye Club. I mean, I've got probably one of the most shadow banned channels on YouTube. And I'm always being part of the Black Eye Club. I mean, people, I think I must be confusing to a lot of people. I actually think I am, because I don't really know what to make of me. And I like it that way. I always have liked it that way, because I think as a kid, I grew up being teased and spiritually bullied, and I wasn't going to tolerate that. So I kind of gave it back, So now, hey, I'm a double Aquarian. I'm a natural rebel. Okay, I'm going to do rebellious things, make no mistake, and in the nicest and cheekiest way that I can, not horribly. But it's like, when you have discerned, your heart feels someone else's heart. It really does. When you reach that place of being willing and done the work of dissolving the lies, and that is not an easy process, because we've all been lied to. That is never easy. You've got to face things about yourself. You've got to face things about those around you. You've got to acknowledge to yourself that you are not the nicest person, and you have not done the nicest things at some of the time. And you're going to have to acknowledge that you've got to go and apologize and sit with God or whoever and make it right before you move on. That's how it works. That's what the Christians will call repentance and what have you. Right. Now make it right and move on. Fix the error of your ways. That's what is required now. But you're going to see a lot of this is not, there's not that in the society. You've got to feel a person's heart. You will know their heart. It's not about how many Bible verses you can recite and how many theology degrees you have. I stay away from that. When people come with that to me, I'm like, bugger off. When you're throwing Bible verses at me, you haven't even begun to integrate them yourself yet. Let the Bible become your living word that now lives in your heart. You become the living word. And you're going to see there's a lot of nonsense in the Bible as well that's been put in there that's not true. When you discern with your heart, you know that. Have you found that, Rachel?
Oh, absolutely. So much programming in there. So we're supposedly, there's certain, signs that are bringing us towards an apocalypse, but apocalypse just means awakening.
Yeah.
And a lot of the signs that supposedly are coming up at the moment, and I've seen some of them myself, the apocalypse is coming for the cabal. It's not for us. And we're actually in an apocalypse right now, but it's an awakening, and it's their apocalypse. It's their nightmare. And some of these things have been written into the Bible, and I'm not having a go at people who are biblically inclined, but there is so much in there that was written by people that didn't have the best in mind for humanity for various reasons. So I do get frustrated when people throw biblical verse, because it's to me, immediately it's like, oh my God, how programmed. This poor person can't even use
Yeah.
their own words. They have to use something that they got out of a book. It's a bit like if you took any book off the shelf and started citing somebody else's statement, it just doesn't come across as you know, whole, as a whole human person.
It's like saying to you every time when you say to me, oh, Chantal, I like your hair. I'm going, oh, yes, well, that hair comes from my father, and he had this color hair. You know what I'm saying? It's like every time God lives inside my heart. My
Yes.
actions prove that. And I don't even need anyone to tell me that. I know when I've screwed up. I know when I'm being a biatch from hell. I know when I need to go and make it right with one of my siblings because they really sometimes irritate me. So I know what I need to do, and I know when I'm being stubborn, and I know how that stops me from progressing. I've understood how energy works. So I can be a bitch all I like, but all I'm doing is stopping myself from actually moving forward. I don't steal because it tells me that if I'm stealing, that I don't believe I can create and manifest for myself. Only people who steal from others have that innate fear that they can't create for themselves, which is the cabal. Hello, they steal everything. They have that innate fear on such a magnetic level that they cannot create for themselves, which is why they have to go to the most depraved means of doing things. Me, I know I can create for myself. And I know I don't need 45 houses and 27 cars. What the hell? Why? That doesn't make sense to me. I live nicely. I enjoy where I live. And I make sure that I can travel and go to nice places and enjoy that place too. That's the life I choose to create for me, not something that I hold on and have to grab and be so terrified of not having that I kill myself from a heart attack because I have so much stress of not sharing.
Well, that's the other thing too. The more you have, the more you have to try and maintain it. It sounds like a lot of work. Not an issue that I have.
I don't want to thanks keep it. I'd rather go have dinner with you twice a week there. You know, and then go shower in your golden shower. That's cool. I'll do that once in a while. I like that. Yeah, I'll do that. I just don't want my own golden shower though. There's no point. I'd much rather go swim in the sea, actually.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You see? Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, you know, to enjoy what life has to offer, but not have attachment to it. And that's where Buddhism comes in, because Buddhism will tell you straight the suffering that the human has is in the mind, and it's attachment. It's all about attachment. And that is our greatest fear as humans, that we have these attachments. Attachment to a piece of jewelry. I mean, have you seen some people go ballistic when a piece of jewelry gets lost? I mean, it's like you swear their life depended on it. You know, people have so much attachments. Like when you go to Vipassana in Buddhism, it's a 10-day silent retreat. You have to take away everything. You are not allowed to wear a watch, a ring, a chain, not allowed to write, not allowed to read, nothing. You are silent and you're with yourself, with nothing else. All attachment gone. And it's amazing how that starts bringing up stuff. Wow. It's absolutely insane. And when we see as humans how much attachment we have to things, that's our problem. That causes our suffering of the heart, because it's like the heart is the sun, and the rays of the sun now have little lead attachments like money or a car or whatever. It pulls your vibration down, right? As opposed to shining, radiating, abundance, nature, love, creation.
See animals running around with handbags and attachments, you know, they might have a collar on, that's not their choice, it's a slavery symbol. You don't see birds running around, well, apart from, you know, bower birds in Australia, they collect things to make their bower pretty, but they're not carrying it around on their body. you very rarely see any kind of attachment to anything in nature. We are
Exactly.
interesting creatures in the way that we have all of these attachments. We wear clothes, we adorn ourselves. It's interesting with jewelry. I mean, when I lose a piece of jewelry, I just think, well, energetically, it wasn't good for me, or someone else needs it.
Exactly.
You know, in a
Exactly.
crystal, because it's holding some energy and needs to release it. You can always see the positive in something, no matter how traumatic it might be. There's a reason for things that happen like that.
It's so true. It's so, so true. You know, really, and I mean, at the end of the day, if we round it off to just, it's about recognizing what's out there right now. It's a hellish time, and there's a lot of confusion. And yes, no one knows who to trust, which is why you have to trust your relationship with yourself and your creator. And you have to have that core truth, because that's going to be the light that shines. It's like headlights on a car that shines and shows you what's ahead of you. And then you won't have to be running around. I mean, when you're driving at night, your headlights are on, you can see quite a way ahead of you what's going on. Same thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Rachel, is there anything? I mean, I love this conversation, and there's so many more directions this conversation can go. And I'm sitting here tempted to take it in another direction as well, but that'll keep us for another hour. So, and I know it's nighttime for you there now, but definitely I would love to carry on these conversations with you, because I think it's so important from a healed survivor, from your perspective. You know, what do we look out for? In fact, maybe what you can give us, if you can, at the top of your head, just from your perspective, how do we spot an infiltrator as people like, you know, the general viewers from the community? You know, I'm talking about controlled opposition. I've learned to spot them pretty well by now, a couple of them. But from your perspective, how would you say we, as the general public, the viewers, people just really with good intentions, what do you say we do at this time in our incarnation on this beautiful planet?
Well, I would first, a couple of things that you'd already mentioned. If they're really, really flash, if they've got designer clothing on, if they are, huge amount of jewelry, expensive, accoutrements. I mean, you see this with the evangelists. It's ridiculous. It just blows my mind that people would even follow those sorts of people. They're talking about all the houses that they own. I mean, anything like that where it's obviously coming from a place of, look how much I've got. That's not integrity. People don't flaunt things in front of other people that don't have, out of a sense of, empathy or kindness. It's like, look at me, I'm so much better. But in reality, they're really saying, I have no self-worth, so I have to put all this on myself to make myself seem more affluent, richer than everybody else, to try and make you think I'm better than you, because really I'm not. So that's one thing to look out for. So the flashier, the less likely they are to have a lot of integrity. What they say, I mean, if you're listening to somebody and you're just like, if you get irritated, or if there's something in it, or it's the actual content of what they're saying, listen to your body. Your body will tell you things. When you listen to someone who's in their integrity, or when I listen to somebody who's in absolute integrity, I get washes of tingles from my crown chakra all the way through my body when they say something that I totally align with. So my body's like a litmus test, or like a tuning rod. And it's like, I'll listen to that person because I get these wonderful tingles and it feels really, really positive. It feels like this person really knows what they're talking about. If you don't get that sort of thing, then just don't listen to just one person all the time. Try and grab a range of people, because you're not going to get as programmed. If somebody's using hypnotic programming, so for instance, the news will always use hypnotic programming in the way that they speak. They use a particular tone that it's hypnotic. Don't always focus on just one person. Try to get a range of people's opinions or communications, so that you're getting a range, so you're not just getting one channel all the time. Gosh, I mean, there's so many things that I could say, but beware of those who love bomb. Always ask yourself, what's the benefit for me? Say somebody wants to interview, for instance. Ask, what's the benefit to me? Is this just for, because a lot of people, if you are speaking out, they will want you to come onto their channel or whatever. So we're talking about people who have podcasts and things, because it's a benefit to them. Are they looking to share your integrity? Exactly. So I've been caught out with this before. Somebody decided to out themselves as a survivor with me present without telling me first. And I felt exploited, quite frankly, because it should have been said to me first, because it seemed like an endorsement. Because I was present during that would be assumed endorsing that person actually was a survivor. So there's all sorts of things that happen with podcasts. So this is why I come on here regularly. I go on with Emma Catherine regularly. There are some people Danny, who I adore, there's only some people that I'll go on with regularly because I feel that they are total integrity and they know what they're doing. They're not going to spring something on you. So yeah, there's again, I could go on for hours.
You said something and I wanted to write it down and I didn't. Because it was something you were saying that I wanted to actually just expand on that for a minute, and then I didn't write it down, and that's why I sit here with my pen all the time. But anyway, I will find it again. Let me just think for a minute. No, it's definitely gone out of my head now, and I don't want to sit here for half an hour trying to scratch in the back of my mind what you were going to say. But I really think, what you were saying as well, just looking at the controlled opposition, how do we know? I mean, and it's so true, it's that, and I wanted to add again what I said earlier, when people are saying, oh, well, I had these alien things or whatever it is, or channel this to me and I can't talk about it now. Humanity is not ready for it, or America is not ready, or I'm like, nonsense. The minute we hear that, that is nonsense. That is a military operation. And honestly, if the way I see things is if they really have our interest at heart, they will have no problem telling us what is going on. There will be no issue. People will be invited to join in more of what this, and not this whole secrecy and let's talk about the Epstein files again. After such big shenanigans made about the Epstein files, now suddenly the files don't exist anymore. What are you talking about? Come on. How stupid do you think we are? Stuff like that. We've been gaslit, all the time. And it makes us angry and we take it out on each other. And that is absolutely what we've got to be so careful of.
I just want to say, there's a certain...
find the people that have been on a healing path.
There's a certain level of elitism with somebody who says they've got a channel, but they can't share it with everybody else because they're not ready for it. But that means that they are. So they must be better.
Babe, I broke up again, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully we'll hear what I've just said. So that's obviously the end of the podcast because the Wi-Fi is not working.
Say it again. Just repeat that if you don't mind. I did miss the last bit of what you said.
So there's an elitism that comes with saying, I've got a channel of channeled information, but I can know it, but everybody else can't know it yet because they're not ready for it. But obviously I am. I'm good enough to know, but you can't know. So that's like putting yourself on a pedestal. Yeah.
Total elevation and separation again. Ooh, we've got to listen to this one. That one has special information. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
I do agree that we must do things in increments. I agree with that. But not this far-fetched, I can't tell you because I'm too important. And I know and you don't. Absolutely not. Yeah. That's a big thing, I want to say.
Yeah.
Anyway. And there was it was Laura, actually, I'm going to say Laura Worley. It was her podcast, and she's actually just put out a new book on, I think, The Missing Pieces, and I'm busy reading that, and she's talking about Mother of Darkness programming, which I actually want to talk to Jessie about, because she speaks a lot about the Mother of Darkness and the Queen Mother of Darkness programming in there as well. So that'll be interesting.
Yes.
A lot of information coming up.
The survivors that I've known who've gone through that programming have been more interesting. That's the only way to put it. Not worse, but it's been more difficult. And I can understand why, because the program is so horrendous. It is so horrendous. But it is very hard sometimes to have long-standing relationships with people who've been through that specific program.
It's crazy what she's saying there. And I think, I don't know the exact title, but I know a book came out about a month ago on Amazon called The Missing Pieces of the Puzzle. I think it is Laura Worley. I mean, guys, go check it out. She's got 3 books apparently. I'm busy reading the one now. But very interesting. So again, let's see what comes up there, you know. It's scary how many people have been involved on this planet, how many kids have been taken and had horrific things done to. Really, really, really. More than anything to me, it's just the amount of children that have been abused. And as a kid in my community, that I couldn't even imagine that this was happening to other children. And I'm sure it probably was. That's the thing, you know?
Yeah. And for everyone who survives to adulthood, there are hundreds, if not thousands, that didn't.
Exact thousands. If we look at Juliet Engel, who did that roundtable with us, I've interviewed her as well. She's the only one of her group, and there were about 1,000 kids in her group. She's the only one that has survived of her entire group.
Oh, poor darling. Oh my God. Okay. That's very heavy.
It is.
So the survivor guilt's probably intense.
And I can imagine with survivors as well, there must be survivors that carry a lot of survivor's guilt as well, especially when in the programs where you guys were twinned, you know, and then they do something to the one they've twinned you to. I mean, that is like doing it to yourself. It may as well be you, but it's not you. It's like watching someone doing it to you.
Yeah. Well, my niece was murdered in December of last year, and we were twinned. We were only 9 months apart. So yes, it's very triggering when that happens.
Wow. Can you talk with us about that a bit, just to give maybe an understanding of what that's like? Maybe just give us a brief explanation on the twinning as well.
So because we're so close in age, we were taken to rituals together. Now, I've not spoken about this publicly before. She died on the 20th of December, 2024. She was exactly 50 years old. So I can't remember how many, I think it worked out to, the gematria was spectacular, but I don't want to repeat the numbers if I get it wrong. But it was just like they couldn't have got better numbers, basically. So she was 50 years and 6 months. So it came up to 606 months or something like that. So the numbers were exactly what then 1,000 or 18,000 and something days. So, and it's interesting because she was the daughter of my sister who was also murdered in the same manner. And at my niece's eulogy, we were told by somebody that I won't mention her name, very high up individual, that we shouldn't ask any questions about why my niece died because we'll never know. We'll never know, which proves she didn't leave a suicide note because it wasn't suicide. So I believe there was a message in it for me. Certainly hasn't stopped me from doing what I need to do.
That's so crazy, right? I mean, and I don't even have words for that. I sit here and I don't have words for that. Just so much love for you and your family that have to constantly, even after all this time, go through these torturous events. It's never easy losing a family member, whether you are close to them or not, and especially under these types of circumstances, because not only is it the loss you're dealing with, but the narcissism around it. You know, when somebody close to you is killed or dies, you want kind people around you that can support you. But in these situations, there's none of that. You've always got to have your eyes wide open, right? And have like literally eyes at the back of your head, so that you don't even have time to grieve. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm trying to say. They don't even allow you to grieve, which is a natural process, because with the grief comes so much other trauma. You're in survival mode, and they want to keep you there. They want to, that's it. They want to keep you in survival mode where you constantly on edge. And that fucks with the frequency. You see, that's what they do. They're constantly trying to keep you in survival mode.
Yeah.
Because it's a frequency war now. And when you're in your heart mode, you're in love. You are in love. You're not in survival anymore. You're in love. You remember survival, and you remember how important it was to get you, yes. But you are now in love. And now you operate with a different frequency. And that's how they don't get you anymore. Sure.
So that's what we have to do. We have to remember that we're getting into higher and higher frequencies, and the higher the frequency of the planet, the higher our frequency, the less attacks we can, they just can't attack us anymore. So we need to keep that in mind and stop worrying too much about, all of the, like you said, all of the psyops to try and bring down the frequency. Every time you see something, where, animals being murdered or whatever, any of that, try and look at it from a different perspective. Yes, it's horrific that these things are being done, but also remember, the more you go into that negative space of feeling miserable and grieving, the more loose they're getting, the more they want you to be in that state. The best idea is to honor those animals, love them, recognize that they're in a better space now, thank God, and, move on with bringing in high frequencies.
Absolutely. That's the way that we're gonna win this war, is really by bringing in and operating from a much higher frequency space. Much. That's how we win it. You're not going to win it any other way. There is no other way. It's your heart. It's your heart against the cabal, basically. Anyway.
Yeah.
What a fantastic show, beautiful Rachel. And I want to say thank you so, so much for joining me today again. And my hair, man, look at it.
It's gorgeous.
It's all over. I mean, I keep seeing it stick up. Okay, I'm going to leave it now. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me and Rachel this morning. We will have it back in a month again. If you missed our roundtable, a couple of weeks ago as well, with Rachel, Kathy O'Brien, Danny Henderson, Juliet Engel, and myself, and who was the other person?
Beverly
Rhodes, of course, beautiful Beverly. What a fantastic roundtable that was. Please go and watch it. And just, wow, just such an amazing experience having this powerhouse of women around this table of survivors. I'm going to do a follow-up on that in the next month or two as well. It's so cool just to follow up on the show. So I look forward to that as well. Thank you, Rachel. Anything you want to say just in closing again?
Keep your frequency up. Everybody keep your frequency up. Do something every day that makes you feel joy.
And what is there anywhere you doing that you want to tell our guests? Any shows you're on? I'm just looking for your banner, yeah.
Well,
where can they find you? It's all in the description.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, Cosmic Consciousness Conference. And you mentioned that I should do a second level psychic course. So I'm finally offering that in January. So beginning of a 9-year cycle. So we'll start the first year of a 9-year cycle. So I'm pretty excited about that. And you said I'm going to show people how to find the controlled ley lines. So there you go.
Wow. That, you see, now that gives me a kick. That gives me such a kick that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think it is incredible. I mean, we need this knowledge, we need this information. And I really, really, really look forward to that. I'll be joining you on that one for sure.
Awesome.
So let us know
Awesome.
when it's when you're ready to start advertising, and we will certainly pop it up here because you do fantastic courses. That's really, really, really great. So thank you for that. And again, thank you to our beautiful Colleen, Leanne, everybody in the chats for joining us. I know it's probably, I don't know what time for you guys there in Americano at the moment, but we've been having fun on this channel. And I'll be seeing you again later with Jesse at 2:30 and 4:30 Central Africa time. That's a couple of hours from now. See you guys then. God bless you all. And just keep your vibe high. Don't be shy. Keep your vibe high.